I know my wife, and I know that she wants something special, desiring to receive something extremely important for her. Susan dressed in her most seductive outfit, a tight red dress with a deep neckline and a short hem. She adorned it with jewels meant to highlight her incredible natural beauty and also to remind us of our shared past. There's the brooch I gave her for our 15th anniversary, the necklace from her third Mother's Day, and finally, the earrings, my first gift to her during our honeymoon. The high heels of her red shoes visually lengthen and strikingly emphasize her already long legs, sheathed in the finest lace net stockings. She prepared my favorite dinner and was ready to fulfill any wish of mine from the moment I crossed the threshold of our home. All this goes far beyond what she usually does when she wants something from me. Admittedly, I always tried to be a generous husband, but, forgive me, I don't print money. Most of my career I worked as a private lawyer in personal injury cases, and while this has allowed our family to ensure a certain level of comfort, there are still some limits. Such an extraordinary level of effort from her can only mean that Susan intends to ask for something that goes far beyond the usual limits. I know my wife and understand that what she wants is much more than we can afford. Susan has been an excellent homemaker for many years and raised our 2 children, who have now left home and are in college. She is a good wife and mother who cooks wonderfully and strives to keep her body in shape. She is generous with love and lacks nothing in bed, always being the first to help the kids with their school matters on a voluntary basis, and thanks to her I feel loved and appreciated. However, over the years she has tried a multitude of activities and hobbies capable of alleviating the monotony of being a stay-at-home mom, such as birdwatching, selling cosmetics, writing, and much more. Whenever she wanted to try an especially expensive hobby, she went all out, which is very similar to what happened this time. When Susan wanted to return to work after the children left home, it was much simpler. She knew that she wouldn't have to convince me for long, as for once instead of spending, she would be bringing money home. But it's already been 2 years since she started working again. This is a much longer period than usual for her to stick with a new activity before shelving it and starting to look for something new. For some reason, this hobby of hers dragged on too long. I know my wife, and I know how she gets when she has a new obsessive idea. Susan serves dinner, and during the meal we casually discuss how my day went. This is always an essential part of the preliminary maneuvers. Trying to get her to directly reveal what she really wants would only spoil our pleasant and leisurely dinner, as she believes she knows this process down to a T. Once, in a phase of personal development, Susan read a book on negotiation. It was her new hobby, which, fortunately, did not last long. From this book, she took away the conviction that adhering to a clear schedule, the correct sequence of actions, and providing information only when she wants, is the sure key to achieving the desired outcome. Possibly, it's not a bad strategy, but she has used it so often that I can see all her tricks and schemes from a mile away. After dinner, she clears the table and invites me to sit with her in the living room. I settle into my chair, and she, as usual, stands. Obviously, she's gearing up to passionately defend whatever is on her mind this time, so she needs the opportunity to pace around the room. Well, I know my wife, and I can probably guess what it will be about. She will eloquently present her arguments, telling me how this, I still don't know what exactly, will make her happy. I think she will definitely offer something in return. New golf clubs, promises of improving our financial well-being, opportunities to spend time and money on one of my favorite projects. In general, something that, in her opinion, has equivalent value. If I agree to the proposal she mentions, then she, delighted, will jump onto my lap and immediately ask to be taken to bed, promising as an additional reward such sexual pleasures that will correspond on her scale to what exactly she managed to achieve from me. If I say, oh well, then I might face a very cold, if not Arctic, atmosphere in the bedroom for several weeks or even months, and still she might try to act behind my back and then simply ask for forgiveness. Over the years, it has become easier for me just to say yes, knowing that she will get bored before she dives too deep into her next temporary obsession. I know my wife, and understand that today she will try her hardest to get a simple yes from me. Susan begins by talking about her work. She enjoys working there, but, she says, there is a new young manager in her department who has shown a particular interest in her. At first, I nod, thinking Susan means that he wants to mentor her, or that she is hoping for a promotion. I know that this would mean an increase in her working hours, and I assume that she probably wants to reduce her household duties. Then I realize that she is talking more about this manager than her job. He comes from a wealthy family. He is handsome, dresses well, travels a lot, and has the physique of an athlete. Using his well-known surname and personal business acumen, this manager quickly climbed the career ladder at her company. Susan trained him soon after he started working there, and now he is her boss. She continues to talk and talk about him, listing his many positive qualities. I know my wife and now understand that, or rather who, has become her new obsession. Then Susan told me that she has gotten closer to her boss. She says she hadn't mentioned him earlier because she generally rarely talked about her work. While she talks about him, I recall that I once saw him at a Christmas party. He approached and greeted both of us. At first glance, he seemed very friendly towards Susan. However, he quickly disappeared into the crowd, and I didn't think much of it at the time. So, Susan continued her story. He flirted with her. Initially, she took it as just normal office flirtation, or that the young man was playfully making ambiguous remarks to an older colleague. But it was not just that. It turns out, her young and audacious boss had set his sights on her long ago and recently revealed his intentions. Every year he goes on a weekend trip to a tropical island, and this time, he wants to take Susan with him. Not us, just her. And my wife wants to go with him, so she needs a pass. From me. I know my wife and I understand that I am watching, as if in slow motion, the end of my marriage approaching. Susan sees my face harden and immediately switches tactics. She begins to insist. She was a virgin when we got married, and she wants to know what it's like to be with another man. He's a true gentleman. It will be our little secret, and no one else will ever know about anything. It will be just one time. She loves me, and nothing will change that. It will be a new, exciting adventure for both of us. She will come back home completely renewed and shower me with affection. I am not to blame, and it's not about me. It's just sex. If I love her, I should allow her this. All these arguments that Susan fires off one after another bounce off me like peas off a wall, and at some point, she realizes that it's not working. Then she moves to the bargaining stage. I can have my own hall pass. No. 2 passes. No. 1 with no restrictions. She will let me buy that boat I've always wanted.
No?
Then he will buy it for me. He will provide and pay for a lavish vacation with a very friendly companion. He could significantly help both my career and Susan's own career. In terms of intimacy, she will fulfill any desire I have, for as long as we both shall live. She will never deny me anything again, neither in bed nor beyond it. She will give me everything I could possibly want. I tell her, what I really want is a faithful wife. But I know my wife, and I see that she is steadfast in her determination. Susan starts telling me that she is being honest and decent with me because she is openly letting me know what she wants. She is asking for my permission, not just cheating on me behind my back. She wants to get her pass because, by using it, she will remain faithful to me. She wants to give me a pass too, so that each of us can gain new experiences while staying loyal. She is asking for this so she does not have to cheat in secret. I tell her that she doesn't need to cheat at all. She just wants this like a little girl wants a new toy, a handsome Ken doll. Now Susan starts to get angry. She calls me a hypocrite because I slept with others before her, as if the vows we took at the altar meant nothing. She calls me selfish because she spent decades of her life and her best youthful years on me and our family, while I built my career, as if I was damn lucky to work long hours at a job I didn't even like. She calls me a fossil, someone out of touch with modern life, because I don't want to open our marriage, as if fidelity is some fickle trend that goes in and out of fashion. I sit, impassively watching as she paces around the room, waving her arms and venting her anger at me. I know my wife, and I understand that she will not just let this go easily. Finally, Susan runs out of steam and gives up. I tell her that I can't stop her. I know that ultimately she will go behind my back, as she has done before when a new obsession completely takes over her mind. I tell her that asking for permission without caring whether it is granted is still deception and betrayal, and that I do not give my wife such permission. I tell her that if she leaves with him, she should not come back. She won't be welcome here. Susan glares at me angrily but says nothing. Failing to get what she wants, she snorts irritably, turns sharply on her heels, stomps up the stairs, and, slamming the door, locks herself in our bedroom. My shoulders sag in resignation. Sorrow has settled in my heart, and now with nothing else to do, I am left alone with my mournful thoughts. There is no outlet for my anger and sadness yet. I drag myself to the spare bedroom, undress, and crawl under the blanket, then toss and turn until the end of this long, bleak, and lonely night. I know my wife and understand that I will find it hard to sleep tonight. When I wake up, Susan is already gone. Her suitcase is missing. Her warm clothes are also gone. And she didn't take her phone. It lies on the bedside table along with the charger. So alas, I could not contact her even if I wanted to. And I don't want to. Under the phone, there is a note that Susan left for me. In it, she expresses her hope, if not certainty, that I will change my mind once I have had time to think seriously. She explains that she will return on Monday evening. She also writes that she loves me and hopes that, in her absence, I will use the romantic pass she issued, which, as I have repeatedly told her, I do not accept and do not want to receive. She assures me that she will come back just as loving as she left, if not more. For some reason, she mistakenly believes that she will still be a valuable treasure that I would be glad to have back, rather than trash that I would prefer to dispose of. Well, her misunderstanding is quite understandable. Until now, she has been my greatest treasure, but that is no longer the case. Right now, Susan is on a plane, and I am here. It's Friday morning. I called the office and left a message that I would not be there because there is more important work that I need to do. Last night, I could not express my emotions, but now I have nothing but anger in my heart and the time I need. Next, I call my old friend, thereby setting in motion the wheels and gears of the legal machine. He begins to prepare divorce papers. I send him a copy of our prenuptial agreement, which specifically includes a clause about marital infidelity, as well as details about our shared property. I ask him to be fair, considering that Susan is the mother of my children, but by no means to show her excessive generosity. Given the structure of our assets and the details of the prenuptial agreement, the division should be very straightforward. I know my wife and remember that she never paid much attention to legal details. Susan always kept strict order in the house. It was the only thing she truly excelled at. Over the weekend, it will be easy for me to gather all her belongings, pack them into bags and boxes, and send everything to storage. I want her to realize that this is no longer her home as soon as she opens the door. Packing and removing her things turns out to be somewhat cathartic. It allows me to focus on something I can control. Most of the weekend goes by in this way, each evening leaving my body so exhausted that all I can do is collapse into bed and fall asleep. At least my mind isn't tormented by endless and essentially useless thoughts about how things have ended up. On Monday morning, I brace myself for the upcoming confrontation. I call our children and inform them about what is going to happen. I don't go into details, but now they know that their mother decided to cheat on me, after trying to make me agree to an open marriage. They are smart kids. They know me and understand that my mind cannot be changed on this matter. I cry with them and assure them that I love them with all my heart. At least she didn't try to poison their relationship with me. Then I call our closest friends, sharing the news, and all of them are simply shocked. I call my parents, and of course, they support me. Finally, I called and told everything to Susan's parents, and they were horrified by what their daughter had initiated. I know my wife and know that no one will support her. Susan's plane will land soon. My friend stayed up all night to do me a favor, and he meticulously worked over the weekend. He handed me all the necessary copies of the documents in a plain, but unmistakably recognizable envelope made of heavy manila paper. I decided not to hand these papers to Susan at the airport. It's not out of any loyalty. I genuinely hope she will feel ashamed of her actions. In the end, it was I who ensured that a storm of phone calls erupted within our usual circle of communication. Her phone, which she purposefully forgot, and which now lies on the hall table, is crammed with text messages and voicemails from our relatives, friends, and acquaintances, all condemning her actions in various ways. I chose not to hand the papers to Susan at the airport because I want to see her face when she realizes the high cost of her weekend escapade. In everyday life, I am not a cruel person. Perhaps my wife, who will soon be my ex-wife, mistook my kindness for weakness. Perhaps she saw my generosity as a lack of will. But even a kind person can be driven to cruelty. Even a magnanimous person can slam their fist on the table and exclaim, "Enough is enough." I know my wife and foresee that her life will soon be much less comfortable than the one she is accustomed to. Susan swings the door open and enters the house with a broad, serene smile on her radiant face. She truly looks fresh and beautiful, and I feel a brief pang of regret about what is about to happen. But almost immediately, I remember that this shouldn't happen. It has already happened. She betrayed our vows. It was her own choice. She chose her young and attractive boss over me, her husband. She decided to destroy our history and our life together. Even though I had warned Susan about the inevitable consequences of her actions. The smile disappears, and her face stretches and freezes when she sees our living room. It takes her some time to realize what has changed in the house. Her still beautiful eyes dart around, scanning the room and noticing the absences. Yes, she sees the absence of certain items. The crystal vase in which she loved to place flowers on birthdays and anniversaries, our wedding portrait, dear souvenirs from our trips together, and much more. But far more painful is the absence of love. Even when we argued, even when I sometimes got angry at her, love was always a strong bond between us. But not now. I don't rush to greet her. There is no tenderness in my manner now. I don't even say hello to her. But I am holding that unmistakable envelope made of heavy paper, which will bitterly show her how little she will have left when our paths diverge. I know my wife, and I clearly see how tendrils of fear penetrate inside her and spread, chilling her heart with cold. Susan's eyes widen in panic. She starts to protest, to plead, to cry. I am impassive. She repeats the same arguments she made before she left, that it was just meaningless sex, about her unchanging love for me, and that she is ready to do anything, just for me. I am indifferent. She tries to remind me of our marriage, our children, our life together. I am furious. I rise to my feet, struggling to contain my anger. I hiss through my teeth that it was I who remembered these things, not her. I was the one who valued these things and everything she is talking about now, not her. I begged her not to throw all this away, not to go to him, but she carelessly, selfishly refused. These were the best moments of my life, and now she is trying to use the memory of them as bargaining chips. I tell her that right now she only inspires disgust in me. I know my wife, and I feel that only now does she finally understand that with her actions, she has put an end to us. A wave of anger overtakes Susan, and she begins to rage. She screams that I can't treat her this way, that I can't take away her whole life, that this is not just my home, but also hers, that I have no right to throw her out, that she has always supported me, that she raised our children, that. I start to tune out her accusations, sobs, and cries. Eventually, she runs out of steam, collapses on the couch, curls up, and bursts into loud crying. I am not a cruel person, and it is time to show her mercy, delivering Susan the final blow to end her futile hysteria. I haven't taken anything from you. You threw away all the best we had. There's nothing left for you here anymore. Now leave. I know my wife. Now I think that she, finally, truly knows me.